this morning when Caitlin Clark was taken out of the game by Stephanie White. And shout out. Hold on, let me get this pulled up for y'all real quick. Let me blow this up. Shout out to IDX Texas, my dog. He stated, I'm just going to say this and let it play out. If she leads this team this season or ever, the Fever will celebrate like they just won the damn.
Everyone thought the biggest challenge facing the Indiana Fever this season would come from their opponents on the court. But according to growing speculation surrounding the team, the real tension may have been building behind the scenes. Reports, fan discussions, and social media debates have fueled claims that frustrations inside the organization reached a breaking point after another series of physical games involving Caitlin Clark. While many of these claims remain unverified, they have sparked a much larger conversation about leadership, player protection, and the direction of one of the WNBA's most talked-about franchises. At the center of those conversations are three familiar names: Caitlin Clark, head coach Stephanie White, and the Indiana Fever organization. Some fans believe the coaching staff must do more to protect its franchise star, while others argue the team simply needs more time to develop chemistry. Then came a dramatic headline suggesting an ultimatum so shocking that it immediately spread across social media: "She goes or I go." But what really happened? Was there actually a confrontation behind closed doors, or has online speculation grown far beyond the confirmed facts?
So it looked like some video evidence back up Caitlin Clark claims about her being frustrated with the Indiana Fever organization. If you guys don't know, dropped a video late last night kind of dissecting what Caitlin Clark had to say in her press conference. Well, in that press conference, Caitlin Clark smirked and stated she was tired of playing pretty much 25 damn minutes. She can't get in a rhythm. She got to be in rhythm in order to play at the level we all love to see her play at. And at this junction in time, the Indiana Fever is not allowing Caitlin Clark to reach her peak for as being the greatest women's basketball player.
Today, we're breaking down everything surrounding the controversy, from the physical play that reignited the debate to Stephanie White's public comments, the pressure facing the Indiana Fever, and why Caitlin Clark continues to dominate headlines both on and off the court. As the story unfolds, separating verified information from internet rumors becomes just as important as understanding why millions of basketball fans are watching every move this team makes. The Indiana Fever entered the season carrying more attention than almost any team in the WNBA. Every arena they visited sold more tickets. Television ratings climbed whenever they played. Social media exploded after nearly every game. At the center of all that attention was Caitlin Clark, the rookie sensation whose arrival had transformed not only the Fever but the entire league. Every pass, every three-pointer, every hard foul, and every post-game interview became national news. But with that spotlight came enormous pressure, and as the season unfolded, conversations about basketball slowly turned into conversations about leadership, accountability, and whether the organization was doing enough to protect its biggest star. The debate intensified after several physical matchups in which Clark found herself on the receiving end of aggressive defensive play. Basketball has always been a physical sport, especially at the professional level, and veteran players often challenge young stars to test their toughness. But every time Clark was knocked to the floor or involved in a heated exchange, videos spread across social media within minutes. Fans dissected every replay from multiple angles, arguing over whether officials had missed calls or whether opponents had crossed the line between tough defense and unnecessary contact. Soon, online discussions became larger than the games themselves. Many supporters believed Clark wasn't receiving the same level of protection that other franchise players typically receive. Others argued she simply needed time to adjust to the speed and physicality of the WNBA. Every opinion seemed to create another debate, and every debate brought even more attention to the Indiana Fever. In the middle of all this stood head coach Stephanie White. Having returned to lead the Fever, White inherited one of the most challenging coaching situations in professional basketball. Expectations weren't just high, they were unprecedented. Every coaching decision was questioned. Every substitution sparked debate. Every loss generated headlines. Managing a young roster while dealing with non-stop media attention became part of her daily routine. After several highly physical games, reporters naturally asked White about Clark's treatment on the court. Rather than making emotional accusations, White consistently focused on basketball. She acknowledged that physical play is part of the game while also emphasizing the importance of player safety. She spoke about communication with officials, preparation, and helping her team stay composed under pressure instead of allowing emotions to take over. Still, her comments didn't stop the speculation. Across YouTube, social media, and sports talk shows, dramatic headlines began appearing. Some claimed there was growing frustration inside the organization. Others suggested relationships between players and coaches were becoming strained. The most sensational headline claimed Caitlin Clark had supposedly delivered an ultimatum that forced the organization into an impossible decision. Those headlines spread quickly. But here's the important distinction. As of the publicly available information, there has been no verified evidence that Caitlin Clark made a statement such as "she goes or I go." The phrase became popular largely through online speculation and attention-grabbing content rather than confirmed reporting. That didn't stop millions of fans from discussing it. The reason those rumors gained so much traction is simple. People weren't just reacting to one headline. They were reacting to months of growing frustration surrounding the Fever season. Indiana had entered the year hoping to build around one of the most exciting young cores in the league. Alongside Caitlin Clark were talented teammates working to establish chemistry under increasing national attention. Every game represented another opportunity to grow together, but rebuilding a franchise is rarely a smooth process. Young teams make mistakes. Communication takes time. Roles evolve throughout the season. Unfortunately for Indiana, every normal growing pain happened under a microscope. When the Fever lost, critics blamed coaching. When Clark struggled, critics blamed the offense. When teammates missed shots, critics questioned chemistry. When officials missed calls, debates erupted across the basketball world. Few professional teams have experienced this level of scrutiny in such a short period. Stephanie White understood that reality better than almost anyone. Throughout her coaching career, she has emphasized discipline, accountability, and team-first basketball. Rather than centering every conversation on one individual player, she repeatedly reminded reporters that success depends on everyone contributing together. That message remained consistent even while outside narratives became increasingly dramatic. Meanwhile, Caitlin Clark continued handling enormous expectations herself. Before entering the WNBA, Clark had rewritten NCAA record books and attracted millions of new fans to women's college basketball. Her shooting range, court vision, and competitive mindset made her one of the most recognizable athletes in America before she ever played a professional game. Naturally, many fans expected immediate dominance. Professional basketball, however, is different. Veteran defenders study every weakness. Coaches build game plans specifically to limit elite scorers. Physicality increases. Mistakes become more costly. Clark openly acknowledged that adjustment would take time. She frequently credited teammates, accepted responsibility after difficult games, and spoke about improving rather than making excuses. That professionalism earned respect throughout the league. Still, the conversations outside basketball never slowed down. Every hard foul generated thousands of posts. Every technical foul became a trending topic. Every post-game interview was analyzed line by line. It reached the point where even ordinary coaching decisions became national stories. Should Clark play more minutes? Should the offense run through her more often? Should teammates respond more aggressively when she takes hard contact? Should officials call games differently? Everyone seemed to have an opinion. Inside the Fever organization, however, the focus remained much simpler. Win games. Develop chemistry. Improve every week. That's easier said than done when every practice, interview, and game becomes headline material. The pressure surrounding Indiana wasn't just about basketball anymore. It had become a test of leadership. How would Stephanie White manage expectations? How would Caitlin Clark continue developing under constant national attention? And perhaps most importantly, could the Fever block out the noise long enough to build the foundation of a winning team? As those questions continued growing louder, another series of intense games would only fuel even more speculation, bringing fresh controversy, stronger reactions, and placing both Caitlin Clark and Stephanie White under even greater pressure than before. As the season continued, the pressure surrounding the Indiana Fever reached a level few teams have ever experienced. Every game seemed to bring a new controversy, a new debate, or another viral moment involving Caitlin Clark. What might have been a routine regular season for most franchises had turned into a non-stop national discussion. Sports networks talked about it daily. Social media users argued over every possession. Former players weighed in with their opinions. And with each passing week, the spotlight on both Caitlin Clark and Stephanie White grew even brighter. One of the biggest challenges facing the Fever wasn't necessarily what happened during games. It was what happened afterward. The moment a game ended, clips began circulating online. A hard screen. A missed foul call. A heated exchange. A frustrated reaction. Within minutes, thousands of fans were analyzing every angle. Some believed Clark was being targeted because of her popularity. Others argued opponents were simply playing tough basketball against a player who had entered the league with enormous hype. The truth often became lost somewhere between emotional reactions and social media narratives. For Stephanie White, this created a difficult balancing act. On one hand, she needed to support her players and defend them when necessary. On the other hand, she couldn't allow outside distractions to become the team's primary focus. Every coach understands that successful teams need emotional discipline. If players become consumed by controversies, frustrations, or public criticism, performance often suffers. White repeatedly emphasized staying focused on basketball rather than becoming distracted by narratives developing outside the locker room. But maintaining that focus became increasingly difficult. Every Fever game felt like an event. Opposing arenas were packed. National media coverage increased. Questions during press conferences often focused more on controversies than basketball strategy. As a result, even normal coaching decisions became major talking points. Whenever Clark sat on the bench, fans questioned why. Whenever the offense struggled, people debated whether she should handle the ball more often. Whenever the Fever lost, criticism intensified. The scrutiny became relentless. At the same time, Clark herself continued adapting to professional basketball. While her talent was undeniable, the transition from college to the WNBA required adjustments. Defenders were faster. Rotations were sharper. Physical contact was more consistent. Veteran players understood how to disrupt rhythm and force difficult decisions. Every possession became a learning experience. Despite those challenges, Clark continued showing flashes of brilliance. Deep three-pointers electrified crowds. Precision passes created highlight reel assists. Moments of offensive creativity reminded everyone why she had become one of the most anticipated rookies in basketball history. Those performances generated excitement. But they also increased expectations. Fans weren't just hoping for improvement anymore. Many expected immediate greatness. That's a difficult standard for any athlete to meet. Meanwhile, Stephanie White continued working to develop the team as a whole. The reality often overlooked by critics is that basketball success depends on chemistry. Even the most talented players need time to build trust with teammates, understand offensive systems, and learn how to respond together during difficult moments. That process doesn't happen overnight. Especially when a roster includes young players still learning how to win consistently at the professional level. White frequently discussed communication, accountability, and growth. Her message remained remarkably consistent despite increasing outside pressure.
Trust the process. Keep improving. Stay together.
Yet every time the Fever experienced a setback, rumors returned. Social media accounts claimed tensions were rising. Content creators speculated about disagreements behind closed doors. Anonymous sources were suddenly cited in discussions across the internet. The most dramatic stories suggested major divisions within the organization. But verified information often told a different story. Publicly, Clark continued supporting her teammates. White continued supporting Clark. Players spoke about improving together rather than pointing fingers. Still, that didn't stop speculation from spreading. In today's sports world, perception can sometimes travel faster than facts. A single viral post can create a narrative that millions of people discuss before anyone verifies whether it's true. The Fever became one of the clearest examples of that phenomenon. Every rumor gained traction because fans were emotionally invested. People cared about the outcome. They wanted the team to succeed. They wanted Clark to thrive. And when success didn't happen as quickly as expected, frustration naturally followed. As the season moved forward, another issue began drawing attention. Leadership. Fans started asking difficult questions. Who was responsible for keeping the team united? How should challenges be addressed? What changes, if any, needed to happen moving forward? Those conversations often centered on Stephanie White because coaches naturally receive both praise and criticism depending on results. Yet coaching under extraordinary circumstances presents unique challenges. White wasn't simply coaching basketball games. She was managing expectations, media attention, player development, public scrutiny, and organizational pressure all at the same time. Very few coaches operate under that level of visibility. Every statement became a headline. Every decision became a debate. Every result became part of a larger narrative. Meanwhile, Clark remained at the center of everything. Whether she wanted the attention or not, her presence transformed every storyline surrounding the Fever. Opponents received more coverage when they played Indiana. Broadcasters discussed her impact constantly. Fans traveled across the country hoping to watch her compete. The spotlight never disappeared. That reality created both opportunities and challenges. While Clark helped bring unprecedented attention to women's basketball, she also became the focus of countless controversies that extended far beyond the court itself. And then came another stretch of games that intensified emotions even further. More physical matchups. More heated discussions. More viral clips. More questions about officiating. More debates about player protection. The conversations surrounding Caitlin Clark and Stephanie White were about to reach an entirely new level, one that would lead fans to wonder whether the Fever organization faced its most important decision yet. As the season reached its most intense stretch, every Indiana Fever game seemed to carry more than just playoff implications. Every possession, every timeout, and every post-game interview became another opportunity for fans and analysts to debate the future of the franchise. Caitlin Clark remained the center of attention, but the conversation had expanded far beyond her scoring or playmaking. It had become a discussion about leadership, team culture, expectations, and how an organization handles pressure when the entire sports world is watching. By this point, the Fever had experienced moments of impressive progress along with frustrating setbacks. There were games where the offense looked unstoppable and others where mistakes proved costly. That's not unusual for a young team, but because Indiana was under such an intense spotlight, every result felt magnified. One victory sparked headlines about a turning point. One loss sparked questions about the future. The cycle repeated week after week. For Caitlin Clark, the challenge remained the same. Continue improving. Continue learning. Continue leading by example. Throughout the season, she consistently answered difficult questions with professionalism. Rather than criticizing teammates or coaches, she spoke about execution, communication, and the need to improve together. Even after frustrating losses, her focus remained on basketball instead of personal narratives. That approach earned respect from many around the league. At the same time, Stephanie White continued facing enormous expectations. Coaching a rebuilding franchise is already difficult. Coaching one that has become the biggest story in professional women's basketball is an entirely different challenge. Every decision carried extra weight. If Clark played heavy minutes, critics worried about fatigue. If White rested her, critics questioned the strategy. If the offense ran through Clark, some argued the team relied on her too much. If it didn't, others claimed she wasn't being utilized properly. No matter what decision was made, someone disagreed. That's the reality of coaching under constant national attention. As online discussions intensified, dramatic headlines continued appearing across social media. Some videos suggested internal conflict. Others hinted at disagreements between players and coaches. The most sensational versions claimed the organization had reached a breaking point. But when examining publicly available interviews and verified reporting, a different picture emerged. Neither Caitlin Clark nor Stephanie White publicly confirmed the dramatic "she goes or I go" statement that circulated online. Instead, both continued emphasizing teamwork, growth, and improving as a group. That distinction matters. In today's digital landscape, attention-grabbing headlines often spread much faster than verified facts. A dramatic title can generate millions of views, even when the underlying story is based largely on speculation or opinion rather than confirmed events. That's why separating verified information from online rumors is so important. What can be confirmed is that Clark has repeatedly faced physical defensive play throughout her rookie season. What can also be confirmed is that Stephanie White has addressed questions about officiating, player safety, and maintaining composure during games. Beyond that, many of the more explosive claims remain unsupported by public evidence. Even so, the larger conversation surrounding the Fever reflects something significant. The expectations surrounding this franchise have changed completely. Just a few years ago, Indiana was rebuilding without receiving constant national coverage. Today, every game attracts millions of viewers. Attendance continues increasing. Television ratings remain strong. Young fans across the country are discovering the WNBA through players like Caitlin Clark. That level of attention naturally brings increased scrutiny. Every organization experiencing rapid growth goes through challenges. The Fever are no exception. Developing chemistry takes time. Building a winning culture takes patience. Learning how to handle constant media attention requires experience. Clark is adjusting to professional basketball. Her teammates are continuing to grow together. Stephanie White is working to shape a competitive identity. Those processes cannot be rushed. As the season progresses, the focus inside the organization appears to remain on long-term success rather than reacting to every headline. Winning consistently requires trust. Players must trust one another. Coaches must trust the system. Organizations must trust the development process. Those principles often determine whether talented teams become championship contenders. Looking ahead, the Fever have every reason to believe brighter days are possible. Clark continues gaining valuable experience against the world's best players. Young teammates continue developing confidence. The coaching staff gains a clearer understanding of rotations and player strengths with every game. Those improvements rarely happen overnight, but they often become visible over time. Perhaps that's the biggest takeaway from this entire story. The loudest voices aren't always the most accurate. While social media thrives on dramatic narratives and shocking headlines, real progress usually happens quietly through preparation, communication, and consistent work behind the scenes. Caitlin Clark's journey is still only beginning. Stephanie White's work with the Fever continues evolving. The Indiana Fever's story is far from finished. Whether this team ultimately becomes a championship contender will depend far more on what happens inside practices, film sessions, and games than on the rumors circulating online. One thing, however, is beyond dispute. Caitlin Clark has transformed the conversation around women's basketball. She has brought unprecedented attention to the WNBA. She has inspired a new generation of fans. And regardless of the speculation surrounding any single headline, every game she plays continues shaping the future of both the Indiana Fever and the league itself. As the season moves forward, fans won't just be watching for wins and losses. They'll be watching to see how this young team responds to adversity, grows together, and writes the next chapter of one of the most closely followed stories in modern basketball. Thanks for watching all the way to the end. Whether you're a longtime WNBA fan or someone who started following the league because of Caitlin Clark, one thing is clear: her impact reaches far beyond the basketball court. As we've discussed, there's a big difference between verified facts and the rumors that often spread across social media. While dramatic headlines may grab attention, the real story is still being written every time the Indiana Fever step onto the court. Caitlin Clark, Stephanie White, and the entire organization continue facing enormous expectations, and only time will reveal how this journey unfolds. Now we want to hear from you. Do you think the Indiana Fever are moving in the right direction? Has Stephanie White made the right decisions under this level of pressure? And what do you believe Caitlin Clark's future with the Fever looks like? Share your thoughts in the comments below because your opinion could be featured in one of our upcoming videos. If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss our latest updates on Caitlin Clark, the Indiana Fever, the WNBA, and the biggest stories from around the sports world. Thanks again for watching, take care, and we'll see you in the next video.